But here we are, Fall of Man, one of my favorite maps in the entire damn game. A lot of players hate it. These players feel it's unfair. I'll just have them switch sides, which I like doing. And the funny thing to me about when there's players on uneven maps like this one, for instance, they would say, is even when I have players like play on opposite sides of the maps. So it's like, okay, it's an unfair map, fine, switch sides. Oftentimes, it's not ever like a matter of like they split even. Like they'll still get shut down 2-0 even though the other player has like the stronger choke point or something. But anyways, here's the map, and let's start with our blue player, Tlaxtlan Soothsayer. Let me know, as always, if the sound is good, if it's too quiet, anything like that. Want to make sure you can hear the lovely game. We're going to have 2 Empire Knights. We're going to have the Tattersoul Flagellants. It looks like we're going to have a lot of Swordsmen, 1, 2, 3, the Sigmar Sons being in that center. We're going to have some Spearmen, 1, 2, 3, 4, by the looks of it. And they're just regular, no shields on these ones to save themselves some gold. We're going to have 2 Great Cannons, one of which will be the ROR Hammer of the Witches. This bad boy does some magical damage, and it's also incredibly accurate because of those 9 chevrons. Now, we already looked at the Empire Knights. There's a 3rd cannon over here. Good to know. And other than that, I think, yeah, so we're going to see some of the other Empire Knights formed over here, hidden in the forest. We got the Jade Wizard on a horse, going to be bringing Regrowth Earthblood, which means Karl Franz will be in the air on top of his Griffin Deathclaw. And good old Karl Franz is going to disappear on me, but he has Gal Moraz, the Reichland Runefang, Stand Your Ground, as well as Foe Seeker, Hold the Line, and Blood Roar because of that lovely mount. Now, his opponent in red, Viking Cat, aka vClaw, part of the RTK clan, is going to have Skeleton Horseman Archers, 1 and 2 of them up front. He's going to have another 2 on the right flank of his army, so going to be 4 total. Infantry, we're going to have Skeleton Spearmen, Skeleton Warriors, Nehekara Warriors, Skeleton Warriors, Nehekara Warriors, and Skeleton Warriors with another Skeleton Spearman capping it off. In the middle here, we're going to have 2 Necropolis Knights with Halberds, so that anti-large armor-piercing variant. And then we're going to have some Chariots. Ooh, always a pleasure to see you, beautiful Chariots. We have Skeleton Chariots being brought to the field of battle. And then we're also going to be taking a look-see here at Settra the Imperishable atop his War Sphinx. And Settra is going to be bringing the Blessed Blade of Tra, Usep's Incantation, of Desiccation, huge AoE debuff. Got Nuru's Incantation of Protection, Jaff's Incantation of the Cursed Blades, and the Crown of Nehekara, and Unyielding Will, and the Restless Dead for that passive that always goes up whenever they're casting. So that's going to be it. And 2 players getting ready to kill each other now. Brought to you by yours truly, my son HW. And Guinness. Okay, so here we go. Got all the cannons firing away at once. Skeleton Horse Archers are coming in here to try to close the gap as quickly as they can. I also like the use of the terrain here. If they do this, it would be great to see the Tomb Kings dive behind this lip to prevent the cannons from firing into them until the rest of their army gets in position. So we'll see what they decide to do. It does look like Karl Franz is coming over here to threaten the Tomb Kings, and some really nice screening from the Empire here, pushing out the cheap spearmen to try and choke up all of the Tomb King advancing units. Going to be seeing Nuru's Incantation of Protection going down on top of the Necropolis Knights, and the cannons are going to fire away. Empire Knights are getting ready to move into position. You have the Unbreakable Tattersouls in combat here, and now Karl Franz is going to dive into combat, and I like him diving into combat here with the Unbreakable units nearby, because as long as the Tomb Kings are trying to kill him here, he's shooting them with a crossfire of 9 cannon pieces. So that's like a ton of damage potential that could be going down there while Karl Franz is taking it for the team. And, you know, the cannons are going to be very, very threatening for the Tomb Kings, especially when they have very little range units of their own to answer. In comes Karl Franz. He's popping Gal Moraz, the Reichland Runefang, Stand Your Ground. Empire Knights are coming in as well. The Tattersouls are nearby to bolster the leadership of the nearby allies.
And, you know, we'll see what happens from here. But, oh my goodness gracious, skeleton chariots coming in. They're going to be having a field day in all of this lightly armored infantry on the ground. Empire Knights doing very well for themselves. Usep's Incantation of Desiccation has gone down to counter a lot of the buffs going down from Karl Franz. But Setcher needs to be careful. If I were him, I'd be pulling out of here, trying to get out while he still had a chance, because Setcher versus Karl just doesn't usually go well for Setcher in my experience. More Empire Knights are pulling back over here to reinforce, and Karl Franz is actually pulling up into the air, seeing if he can block in a lot of these units, and the cannons can maybe get some work against Setcher by the looks of it, or maybe they're going to be shooting at those chariots, not quite sure. Over here, we're going to be seeing the spearmen getting ready to hold back the skeleton warriors and some skeleton spearmen, but you know, we're still going to be seeing the Sigmar Sons and the other swordsmen down here holding back the brunt of the Tomb King forces, and the Sigmar Sons unbreakable, so going to be pinning these guys in place, buying the Empire a lot of very, very valuable time. And now it is basically Karl Franz coming back in, huge charge bonus, buffing himself up with the Jade Wizard throwing that overcast regrowth, and Setcher the Imperishable starting to take some significant damage, and his Necropolis Knights are close to getting eliminated completely. So right now I think Soothsayer is starting to get the edge in the battle. Over here, Empire Knights diving into the Skeleton Horseman Archers, who are back here trying to shut down the cannons. Now it does look like we have some foxes in the chicken coop, and the Skeleton Spearmen are going to get on top of the Hammer of the Witches, and that is probably going to be enough to knock it offline. But look at this, dismounting the artillery and pulling the artillery crew away. They carry their ammunition. As long as they're alive, they can always remount and start shooting again. So I really, really like that decision. Demonstration of good micro skill and prioritization. Over here, though, it looks like the Tomb Kings are bringing the balance of power back their way. You know, a lot of Tomb King units around the field have begun to overwhelm the Empire infantry. The Tattersouls are almost gone. You have all of the spearmen and swordsmen seem to be routing. And the Empire Knights, although they're still alive, you know, their leadership may not hold on if they continue to fight without infantry support. We will see, though. Right now, Karl Franz and Setcher the Imperishable still in the throes of deathly combat. And, I mean, Karl Franz is starting to take some damage. Karl Franz is beginning to suffer, but the balance of power going back towards the Empire. And the Empire Knights are going to be turning around, going to be able to get some nice charges on top of these Skeleton Warriors, more than likely. Oh, Ushabti summon coming in on top of some Empire Knights. That's a nice placement there. But, yeah, Karl Franz has a Jade Wizard who can still heal him. And the Tomb Kings have nothing to threaten that Jade Wizard, with the exception of the Skeleton Horse Archers. But even they probably won't have enough, pack enough of a punch to kill him off. Over here, there we go. Got Karl Franz and Setcher the Imperishable duking it out. Setcher throwing up on top of him. Got a regrowth Garl Moraz and the Reichland Runefang all popped at once. Jaff's Incantation of Curse Blades is down there too. And Karl Franz is right back into it, guys. He is ready to fight. He's going all the way back up to his healing cap by the looks of it. Unfortunately, not going to be able to use that Garl Moraz and Reichland Runefang to the best of its potential. But honestly, for keeping Karl Franz alive, I think he made the right decision not overplaying his cards. And the Ushabti are about to time out, so you gain more value by just avoiding combat until the Ushabti run out. It makes the enemy more likely to crumble. So, yeah, some smart play from our Empire player here, Soothsayer. No surprise, no surprise. And Viking Cat playing very, very well with his Tomb Kings as well. I think both of these players have been playing it beautifully, but Tlaxtlan Soothsayer with the triple cannon hard right flank, using this terrain feature, this lovely little cliff, so well, just allowing him to fire from multiple angles into his enemy, creating that nice choke point that he's able to clog with a lot of cheap infantry at first, and then later with some keen cycle charging by the Empire Knights. Speaking of the devil, here they come. And now it looks like Karl Franz is feeling confident enough to go in for the kill blow. Oh, Setcher avoiding most damage so far, but there goes a big hit, And now it looks like Karl Franz may have his sweet, sweet revenge on Cetra for something that I'm not sure about, but he probably did something that made him deserve this, because Karl Franz is ineffable. He's perfect. Yeah. Oh, Cetra, time to perish. Your packaging was no good, so it's time to perish. How is he still alive, damn it? These undead factions always throw me off. Cetra? Okay, no, the bounce power is like really far away now. So he's at 948. Karl Franz is at 3,400. I think a strong sneeze would kill Cetra right now. Envert, thank you for the follow. I appreciate the support and hope you're enjoying the content. Oh, there he goes. Karl Franz has done it. He's all in. He's calling the Tomb King's bluffs. Cetra the Imperishable looks like he's crumbling. And I don't know. I think this is it, guys. Oh, but Karl Franz taking some damage. Empire Knights coming in for a rear charge. And there goes Cetra. Karl Franz will be victorious. Full Sigma! No Fubu. Okay, so Soothsayer. Well, interesting build, executed to perfection. I like the pick of just generic Empire Knights and stuff with Karl, because Karl is literally like a one-man wrecking machine. Just like, he can wipe out multiple units in a battle as long as you keep them alive and healthy and complemented by some cheap units. But the 3 cannons, don't think I've seen that before, and a very interesting play. And I think he just understood the, you know, the makeup of the map, the geography of the map very well, and understood how to create a good choke point and a good refused flank. You know, he had a couple of infantry, like I think 3 probably max, on the left flank holding back the majority, or like at least a third of the Tomb King infantry approach, with a nice downhill defensible position, while the rest of the big units were drawn into the right flank, which was more reinforced because the artillery was all firing on them, doing a ton of damage. So it's one of those battles where I do think if they would have hid behind the lip of the cliff and let the infantry approach in a more organized fashion, and then sent out Cetra and the Necropolis Knights and the Chariots and stuff later in the game, like after the infantry had closed the gap more, I think that would have worked out a lot better. Hindsight's 2020 though, and it was still played very, very well. Some awesome chariot play, and Cetra the Imperishable just always impresses me. It's insane how good he is.